So high expectations relationships are the relationships that we build with each other that enable the absolute best. So it doesn't necessarily need to be between just two people, it can be between 3, 4, or an entire party of people. They're distinct from and separate from what we call the high expectations agenda, which we think is the rhetoric of a lot of schools and a lot of education institutions, whereby they talk about high expectations of kids, but they don't talk about high expectations for kids. So what we're sort of arguing is that it's important to build a relationship where there are high levels of trust and safety before you get to places where you can offer critical and meaningful feedback to each other. Dalby State High were just one of the many schools that we worked with. Introduced them to some of the stronger, smarter processes in a 6-day intensive program. We introduced a whole range of things that they can use in their schools and with their communities.
The biggest skill I learned was being patient and learning about students and where they come from and the different baggages that they bring into the classroom and to the school. Everyone has different baggage, and for us to see life through their eyes rather than judging them first when they come in. You need to have a better understanding or a broader understanding of their lifestyle, because for them to engage you need to be interested in them. So Marty, I know that you've been away this last week, so how do you feel about missing out on work?
Quite hard to catch up, but I think I've got all the notes down again.
For example, some of them come to school without breakfast, some of them haven't been home all night, or they get home very late. Some of them witness horrible issues with parents and siblings and so forth. So they come to school not ready to learn, and they come to school with so many issues, so school's the last thing on their mind when they're walking through the gate.
Myself, I have had bad background issues, but it really doesn't affect me much with school because I know it's a priority that's got to get me through life. But without school, we couldn't really make it that far with the environment we're around these days. So
we've got the assessment coming up next week. Is there anything that you're worried about?
Getting time with them one-on-one outside of the classroom kind of helps. Really gets to know with the person behind them as well, not just their work, their background.
All right guys, so let's get into a circle and check in. They initially didn't like the yarning circle. They thought it was a bit of a joke, and I told them how serious it was.
Today I'm feeling glad and content to see what the day brings.
When they're in the circle, everyone's treated equally, even myself. I don't have any more power than they do, and now they just, as soon as they walk into the classroom, that's the first thing they do is they set the circle.
So the emotional bank account is a bit of an analogy that our patron, Dr. Chris Sara, uses. It's about being fair with kids and working with them, understanding them, and we call that making deposits into the emotional bank account. You have to do this so that when you have to pull a child up, you've got enough emotional credit there to pull them up quite severely, but they still feel connected to you. And that's all about being fair, but then also being firm.
I really think it's important that teachers understand where students come from so they can understand why they're really committed or why they're not as committed, and trying to get them committed if they're not.
You have to do both. Doesn't matter where you start.
I can notice a massive difference in some of my subjects because of the teachers. So if I have a teacher that I can relate to heaps, I enjoy the subject much more than teachers that I don't really relate to and don't know as well as the other teachers.
Okay, so I'm going to check in. I'm going to tell you guys that I'm feeling a little bit nervous, I'm feeling excited, and I am a little worried to see if you guys have actually read the book or not. I think they saw a little difference in my teaching, because usually I'm quite strict in a classroom setting and I've got to get right into the information. But I think for the first week I came back, I was talking to them in a different way, getting them to talk about their feelings and what was going on with them.
I feel calm and relaxed.
There's always students who are reluctant to talk about how they're feeling. Even showing an interest in how they're feeling is enough to let them know that you care enough to ask, and that's a pretty powerful thing.
What I took away from it basically was that you can't educate unless you have those positive relationships with students. how to look at ourselves and maybe some of the things that stopped us from being the best teachers that we can be. So say, for example, we looked at the various assumptions that we have as individuals about society and about other people and about ourselves even, broke down our barriers as individuals and made us examine ourselves so that we could become a solid group by using like perceptual positioning and asking myself, right, I need to be in their shoes right now, thinking about just listening to them, thinking about what they're thinking, what they're believing, all of that sort of stuff, and taking it away from myself. I think that's made me a better year coordinator and a better teacher because it's less about me and more about them.
Previously, where I didn't like my teacher, I didn't perform well in the class because I was disinterested and I didn't enjoy the class, so I didn't enjoy doing the work, so I didn't do it.
What does this mean? It says they have their exits and their entrances.
Yeah. So
She's nice. And I know she cares because my granddad actually passed away a few months ago and all of my teachers offered to help catch me up on things and organised extensions without me having to go see the head of departments and whatnot. And she was really good with that. I think that the relationships I have with my teachers has had a really positive impact on the way I do at school because I feel comfortable approaching them and being like, hey, I don't understand this, can you please explain?
you get to watch these kids grow from grade 8 to grade 12, watch them go from essentially being kids to young adults, and that can be really rewarding.
Each teacher brings unique skills and processes and ideas to the staff room. We think this is really important that those individual strengths are honoured, because once you have people who understand why they are in a certain situation and why they work so significantly well with other people, it becomes so much easier to have a strong collaborative team rather than a bunch of people who are uniquely gifted but not working towards anything. So our workshops are for everyone who works with kids. So we're very clear on saying that we're not just for teachers and we're not just for upper administration, principals, deputies and the like. We also love to work with community members. We've worked with CECs or community education counsellors. We also work with chaplains. Anyone who wants to make school a better place for children, they're the people we're interested in working with.
With the principles of high expectations that we learn at the Stronger Smarter Institute, we need to apply them not only with the students, but we need to apply them with the wider community for it to have the best possible impact. Because we can do it here, but if the parents are implementing it at home and community members are implementing it in the community, then it's going to have a flow-on effect.
It took me about a good 2 days to understand what this was all about. But then when I worked out what they were really trying to do was basically put a mirror in front of us and go, this is you.
I think the teachers make a huge impact on how I learn, especially how committed they are to the students.
So I suppose the reason why I think people should get involved is because all we're acting as are facilitators to create the change that they've probably desperately wanted in their communities for a long time.